Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. I'll call the community safety meeting for Tuesday, January 16th to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? We have one addition. We'll make it item 6.2, traffic cameras, or 6.2 traffic cameras. Sorry, license plate.
Recognition cam.
Some sort of camera. Okay. All in favor of the amended agenda? Any opposed? Thanks. We have the minutes of the meeting for the meeting on December 12th.
Move adoption.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Next committee meeting date is February 13th, 2024, 4 p.m. right here in Council Chambers. Be sure to tune in. Council Safety Division Animal Protection Services Monthly Activity Report, November 2023. Mr. Bramhill.
Through the chair, I have nothing further to add, and I'm open to questions.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your report. I probably get in the top 5 dogs off leash letters from the general public. And what I'm wondering is would it be possible to, I don't know, provide to the public a sort of a mock ticket or something that says, are you aware that you must have your dogs on leash when you're walking on for railroad trail, for example, or the dike? And I'm wondering if we could just have something that people can hand out and say, are you aware? You could get a fine for X amount, and almost like a citizen's arrest or a citizen's notification. Something like that, a program like that, that might help bring awareness, because the same people are writing day after day, seeing the same issues.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, to that end, we're currently in our dog license renewal cycle right now. So public renewal notices have gone out to the prior registered dogs to remind them to renew for the 2024 year. What we've done this year is include a public education pamphlet, a handout in that slip, reminding everyone the rules of dogs must be on leash. If it's a dangerous dog, it must have muzzles, the appropriate places for an off-leash park, things of that nature. So any dog owners that renewed or were licensed with us prior, as well as the renewals, have gotten that slip as a reminder. That's approximately 7,500 slips that went out. So anyone with a dog has those pamphlets. And in conjunction to that, we're also running, and you'll see in January and February here, as the months, days get a little longer, some social media efforts to remind the public regarding their dog on leash obligations.
Yeah, I think we have, it's kind of like the whole hate has no place thing. We've got to have a program where people, can be made better aware that there are repercussions if you don't obey the dog rules. So anything you can do to just empower the people. We've got about 100,000 people out there that are willing to be our bylaw officers. So.
Certainly take it under advisement.
Thanks.
Councillor Heed.
Yes, thank you. If I could just draw your attention to Figure 1 and Figure 2 on CS11. My questions are regarding the enforcement aspect of it. You can see that although we don't have December stats for 2023, our enforcement numbers are going to be down substantially. And I look at the comparison when we start to look at the revenue, and we understand the revenue is very similar given the fact that we've had an increase in dog licenses paid here in Richmond. Do you have any knowledge as to why our enforcement numbers would be down? I know we have a outsourced enforcement for, as Councillor Day is referring to. I'm not sure I'm in favor of it next time the contract does come up, but do you have any idea as to why we're down substantially?
So it wasn't noticed through the chair to Councillor Heed. It wasn't noted in this report, but certainly in prior reports, significant effort has gone into reducing the number of delinquent accounts. So as you mentioned in Figure 1, with the increased violations 2022 and 2021, there was a fairly large number of dog counts that were delinquent. So if the SPCA officers are in parks, odds are those animals potentially were not licensed, and that drove certainly a ticket increase. Work has been done in 2023 to really bring those numbers down of delinquent accounts and bring those dogs into compliance if they're still in our parks. So what officers are noticing in the parks is that more and more dogs are indeed licensed. There still potentially could be tickets issued for dogs at large where they ought not to be, but the issuances that sort of drove the 2022 and 2021 increases were driven in a good portion by outstanding accounts.
I guess in reference to what Councillor Day was speaking about, how she's inundated with people complaining to her with respect to that. So I think we're going to have to, and I'll give you a bit of a heads up, we're going to have to be very cognizant of whether we carry on with the outsource enforcement or we bring that back in-house somehow. So when we do come to contractual time, at least you have a bit of heads up. I'm going to be asking that question. My other question is on page 12, the Animal Protection Bylaw adjudication. So of the 6 violations, what were they, and do you have, if you don't find, do you have any notice as to why the 2 were dismissed?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, the violations were for a variety of offenses: dog and hot car, an expired tag that someone wished to dispute, things of that nature. Off the top of my head, I don't have the 2 that were dismissed, but I can certainly get back to council in an email. That's
fine. Maybe just next time when we talk about the adjudication process, I'm not asking for a memo or anything. That maybe I might ask that question next month. Thank you.
Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, thank you. Most of my concerns were answered. I had the similar ones as Councillor Day and Heed. Also, following up just on Councillor Heed, when you have 143 calls for a service and it says it ranges, be interested to know the nature of those calls. Okay, I think it's important to know. The other question is, out on the field, do we only have one officer from the SPCA going out?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, no, there is coverage from SPCA officers under our enhanced animal control service model from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, including stats. So while they're not always in partners or pairs, on a given shift, due to the range, there'll be 3 to 4 officers in the community either responding to calls or doing those proactive patrols on the dikes, trails, parks.
Okay, interesting. I don't know if any other councillor has seen them. I've never seen them. Maybe, do they wear a uniform?
They do. It is branded as BCSPCA.
Okay.
And to your earlier statement through the chair, to foreshadow a little bit, the year in review report, which you will see in February, has a breakdown of the top calls for service that are received.
Okay. I'm encouraged to see that since you sent out these notices, these 7,500, is that the total number of dog licenses in 2023?
Those were the total number of dogs licensed in our records for that year. I can say as of this morning, approximately 3,700 have re-registered, so approximately half.
Okay, so you got almost 20% back already. It's not bad. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, just to follow up on that. So you said the bylaw officers operate from 9 to 5 every day for the dogs off leash?
The contracted BCSPCA officers work under an enhanced animal control service model. My apologies, they open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you. Sorry, I misheard. Thank you. Okay. There's a motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Next item, property use and parking enforcement activity report. Mr. Corrado?
To the chair, I have nothing further to add, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you. Councillor Day?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you for the report. once again, the one that stands out on the chart over all of the other bylaw infractions is the illegal short-term rentals. And I was astonished to see on CS 19 that the amazing work that the two bylaw officers, I think it's two, have done 564 violations in 2023, which is a 623% increase in violations, just because we put the officers on the job. So well done to all the staff that have been working on that. My question is, I've received numerous letters about the Ani Hotel. It's called Steveston Waterfront Hotel. Now, when we approved that, it was supposed to be a fully functioning hotel with staff there to receive guests and take care of guests. But the two or four actually emails that I've received have told me that basically it's like all online. There's just a code to the door. There's no one there to service anyone, so it's 100% unsupervised. Now, would that come under the, short-term rental rules, or would it be a bylaw infraction with their business license?
Through the chair to Councillor today, I also received that complaint. It was investigated this morning, and it was proven to be unfounded as the general manager, and there was a caretaker on site that was contacted by a business license inspector. So the business is, according to our latest investigation, operating according to the terms and conditions of the business license.
You were there this morning?
This morning.
Okay. As you know from the emails that we received, this was all happening mostly during Christmas time when people had guests coming from out of town. Can we follow up on that location and then get a memo in a month's time? And then we'll talk to people who write in and complain about it. And because this is not what the people of Steveston wanted or deserved. You know, they were adamant that it had to be properly staffed. So obviously they got wind that there was complaints.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, many of the complaints came in prior to the business actually operating. The business has been operating relatively recently, and since that's happened within a month or so, we've been doing investigations on that site and following up on complaints, and we'll continue to monitor moving forward.
Okay, could you come back with a report next month? Thank you.
Councillor Heed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Crowder, if I can get you to look at CS 15, I just need a little bit of an explanation on that. You said in November 2023, a total of 124 calls for service received were open for investigation, which is a 38% increase from the same period. And I look down, I see your most often calls for service with respect to going on when I look at figure 1 on this. So if I'm reading this correctly, the number 1 call for service, and these are calls that are made in asking for assistance, is unsightly premises?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, that figure there is the annual total up to November, but it is a very reasonable assumption to assume that the majority of the calls are indeed unsightly related.
Could you give me an example, Mr. Crowder?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, a common unsightly call is overgrowth of vegetation, of debris that usually comes in the front yard or the backyard that comes to the attention usually of people in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. And if I can just get you to go to CS 17 under parking enforcement, I recognize we're going to talk about the license plate recognition technology in a separate agenda item. Responded to 324 calls for service. So those are calls that are coming in to the bylaw office asking for assistance regarding parking offenses?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, yes, that's correct.
Do you find that a fair amount? I find that a fair amount. We have that many people phoning in.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, is a 23% increase. I would have to do some research to see if that is out of the line of prior years. But intuitively, it would seem like it is an increase, whether it's statistically or significant or not. I would need to compare that to prior years.
Thank you.
Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, thank you for the report. Expressed some of the same concern. I want to go back to Councillor Day's comment on page 19. You say a variety of notices have been issued as such for a non-compliant operation of a short-term rental, and some of them have received multiple notices, et cetera, on the inspection. What are we doing to work towards the goal of the provincial government to take short-term rentals and make them into long-term rentals? When we go to Joe Smith's place, do we say, hey, look, Jack, do we close them down and say, sorry, that's it? You can do it on a long-term basis. I mean, the fact that, you're spending all your time, 564, that's one hell of a lot of, I'm not faulting anybody. I'm trying to team up. We've heard from Victoria that relates to this and saying, hey, if we have that many in Richmond, most of them probably are illegal then. I'd like to know how many business licenses we have for short-term rental that are legal.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, I can definitely get back to you with the precise number now. I know it's risen significantly. So we are, in tandem with enforcement, we're encouraging compliance. So what when we do encounter enforcement issues, obviously there's ticket issuance and further action required, but our ultimate goal is to get people to comply with the bylaw where that's possible. And we are seeing an increase in people coming forward and actually getting licensed for short-term rentals. The second aspect regarding cooperation with the province, our staff is participating as part of a working group with the Ministry of BC Housing, where we are looking at ways of interfacing with the new IT platform that will provide owner-related information that comes from the short-term rental providers themselves. So Richmond is one of the few cities that are participating in that program with the province.
Well, you and I know, and I hope we tell these people when you've left them, the bylaw says you're on my radar and you're in my book, because you and I know that there is no way they're going to make the same amount of money by renting it out monthly as they make it out overnight. And Molly Maid is downstairs, ready to come upstairs at 8 o'clock in the morning. Just go over here in the corner and you can see it. There's 2 Molly Maids there every day, ready to go upstairs. So I guess I'd like to see us try to work towards that. And because otherwise we're sealing, it's just not going to work as much as it is full of good intentions. So anyhow, do what you can. Thank you.
Councillor Galanders has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Corrado, for the report. I'm just curious, I want to know, have you had any progress with the ALC that you know of dealing with the truck parking on ALR issue?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, we do work very closely with the ALC on a number of files, and we conduct investigations often in parallel. So the relationship between staff and the ALC is quite strong, and we have a number of active investigations where there's quite a bit of synergy that's achieved. There are certain bylaw violations which we can pursue investigative action, and there's provincial statutes which they can take action under. Given that we have had a successful outcome in terms of a guilty plea on an investigation in court regarding truck enforcement, I'd say that relationship has yielded some results thus far, and we can report back to committee regarding the actual sentencing from that case once that sentencing has been completed.
Yeah, that would be good to know. There was a really large announcement put out by the Ministry of Agriculture a couple of years ago that, things were going to change on ALR, and that illegal dumping and other illegal uses were going to be seeing, millions of dollars of fine, up to $1 million of a fine per infraction, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just seeing the issue getting worse. I just recently received a message from a farmer that there's a property, a farm that's turned into a 5-acre truck parking operation that's been disrupting the neighborhood. This is not in Richmond, but it is happening on ALR. It's spreading. It's happening on our ALR, and it's spreading to more jurisdictions, or maybe it started in other jurisdictions and it's spreading here. And I'm wondering if the committee would be amenable to a referral for staff to write a letter to the Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Agriculture, and any other relevant ministry to highlight the increase in truck parking on ALR and the need for other level of government to address the truck parking shortage.
Planning on?
Yes, we do.
I understand we have a referral from planning on this.
it.
The referral from planning was for Richmond to look at areas where we could find truck parking. I don't think it was a letter, was it? Okay.
Okay.
We just included.
I can't hear any discussion if there's discussion.
We haven't. I'm trying to figure out what other information she wants. If it's information, well, we can send a letter.
No, I think Councillor Galanders wants a letter written to the ALC to,
No, it was to the Ministry of Transportation because it has to do with the truck parking issue
okay,
as well as the Ministry of Agriculture.
Requesting what?
requesting what?
To highlight the increase in truck parking on ALR and the need for other levels of government to address the urgent truck parking shortage.
Okay.
That's different from the other motion.
Yeah, I think that might be different from the other motion. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we can, that makes
We
sense.
can, another piece of paper doesn't hurt.
Thank you.
I don't think we need a motion for that. We can just make it a
do
friendly.
Ask staff to do it.
Thanks.
Okay, from the mayor, Mark? Okay, done.
Okay. Councillor Day, you've already spoken?
I missed one. Thank you so much. I'm seeing an increase of containers that aren't just in the driveway to do a renovation project, but they're using them as extra storage space, and even seen lettering, extra storage space, called this company. Is it not true that that is illegal in the city of Richmond? That there's a time limit of how long you can have a container parked on private property?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, the storage containers are not permitted on, typically you find them in driveways, they're not permitted. And certainly when there is a degree of active extracting of building materials, then people will use the container to haul away the material. But staff do investigate these complaints. I'm not aware of an uptick in relation to these violations. But we do actively enforce them.
Okay, I'll send you a list of the ones that I've spotted. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I just may make a comment on the short-term rentals, because we're now giving violations for multiple infractions on individual addresses, I think it would be interesting to know how many addresses have received violations as well. So we know both numbers, because I think in the past, so we're seeing this huge uptick in the number of violations, and so it seems in our mind that there's 500 places that are contravening the rules, whereas it may actually be the same number, more or less, and staff might just be able to give more violations. So to understand that nuance would be beneficial to us if it's possible.
To the chair, that's correct. On average, off the top of my head, is around $1,500 of tickets are, so usually 2 to 3 tickets are given within a specific property, but staff can definitely get back and look at the distribution of addresses to tickets and provide that ratio.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, we have a motion? Second? All in favor? Thank you. Richmond Fire Rescue. Chief?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. I have one addition to the November report that's hot off the press, and I've got a hard copy here for your members, if that's all right. And other than that, I have no additions to the report, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure that Councillors Wolf and Galanders get a copy of this, maybe through our friends in the clerk's office there.
Thank you. Councillor Day?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the report, as always, very detailed. I noticed on CS 26 that there were, once again, 552 calls for medical services from the fire rescue, and most of those were chest pain or breathing problems, according to page 27. So my question is, on page 22, under internal staff training, we've done medical first responder training. Would that include the chest pain and breathing problems? And how many firefighters took that training?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Day, thank you. That would include those specific types of training.
Good.
And typically, annually, we recertify approximately 20% of our staff in the licensing. And so that's an annual ongoing effort that is continuously happening. So in November, it would have been a portion of that 20%.
So given that not everybody has that training, do you divide them up so that each truck has one medical first responder?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, actually, everybody does have that training.
Oh, they do.
All of the women and men that are assigned to the response companies have that level of training with all of that, as do our fire prevention and a number of our administrative staff as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Heed?
Chief Ana, thank you very much for this. This is my question. I was going to ask where this was, but this is very good, and hopefully we can get this online too, because I think this is very valuable information that you've given us with respect to the overdose poisoning incidents. And I just want to make a few comments about this. You can see the supportive housing, the concentric circles around, or the circles around those particular housings for incidents that have occurred. We've been talking about the open air drug use around the Alderbridge supportive housing.
Can you speak up, please?
They're going to have to give me a better mic.
No, you just
Again.
have to speak into it.
Then we're all going to be wearing those headphones with mics attached.
Cash Heed and the Madonna headset. It'll be great.
I just want to, point out the fact that you've got these incidents occurring around, and as we anecdotally thought, around our supportive housing because of the drug addiction that is taking place there in the open air drug use and the complaints. And Councillor Hobbs just leaned over, and it'd be nice to know through a color circle whether this is occurring indoors or it's occurring outdoors. So that may be something additionally we could look at. But I think this is very worthwhile, especially if we start looking at other measures in Richmond that we need for the open air drug use, for the consumption of illicit drugs in public places, which I know going into this year, we're going to explore it. So I just wanted to thank you very much for this. And did you notice anything in here that we should pay particular attention to?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Heed, just a couple of small items, as this is a new version of the map, hot off the press this week. This capture shows just November's responses for our emergency crews. There was 23 incidents in total, including the breakdown that we can see on CS 28. That breaks it down by type and explains how many were indoor and outdoor. And I'm happy to go back to our GIS folks and see if we can better delineate that onto the map. As far as exactly which types of incidents occurred in which location. That's just going to take a little bit of further digging.
Great, thank you.
Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, just want to follow up on that. A great report, Chief. Appreciate it, and appreciate this. You know, there's a stigma attached to the use out there. And thank you for breaking it down, but I'd like to see it broken down further. 12 were located in a commercial property and are a resident. I'd like to know how many were in a home using, you know, whatever they were doing. And because I think that's important to know where these, and the other in a commercial property, was it on the premise of a commercial property, in a building, et cetera? Because many people think that, you know, the homeless are doing it out in the park or whatever. And I think your stats and the numbers have gone down. So I think it gives a clearer picture. And I think it doesn't encourage us to push the idea of the panic button, so to speak, that is happening so you can't walk through the park or whatever. I know they're happening in other places, and you've been responding to them. So it's just a little clearer on it. So I think it's a great stat following up on what has been previously said. So good job.
Thank you for the feedback, and I'll take that back.
Yep. We have a motion on the floor.
Moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, lost my agenda here.
And I don't have another verbal update for you today, so.
Okay, and just an aside, how many people went to Ottawa on the Red Cross emergency resiliency?
Just Brendan McLaughlin, the manager, went to Ottawa and represented the emergency programs group. He presented on behalf of the branch and the department. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, well, thank him for us.
Good.
Oh, and Councillor,
I have a question for, yeah.
hang on, Councillor Galanders has a question. Don't go away, please.
Thank you. Thank you through the chair. I'm just curious. It's been a couple of years since the fire department has made Gary Point accessible for skating during cold snaps. And I'm just wondering if you can explain if you know why that is.
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, I don't, although I understand that there is some information being shared recently with other senior staff in the city, and so if that opportunity does arise shortly, we can certainly participate, but it would be by invitation for us to do that.
What would be by invitation? To discuss it?
No, for the fire department to go and flood Gary Point.
Oh, I was under the impression it was the old fire chief, the past fire chief, just made the decision and would do it. They were directed by staff of the city?
It's entirely possible. Like I say, I'm connecting with our friends in the parks and the recreation services right now on that initiative. So.
Okay, well, maybe I'll bring it up in parks as well, but just, you know, for information, there's many people that seek out outdoor skating during a cold snap, and I don't know if there had ever been any issues with Gary Point, but the thing about it is that it's very safe because it's not deep. So even if people go on it when it's not, the ice is no longer safe, you know, they're going to get a wet ankle, but they're not going to get harmed. People are seeking out places like Garden City lands now. And on the weekend, there was a report that people were skating at the Mariners Village Pond, which is a very deep pond. So people are now skating on much more dangerous places. Not necessarily dangerous because I think they checked how deep the ice was and it's safe, but it would be great if our city, along with you, could facilitate, you know, having somewhere safe like Gary Point during these cold snaps, because it just adds so much richness to people's lives to be able to skate outdoors, and that's the great place to do it. So yeah, I hope that we can make that happen somehow next time.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll certainly take that back, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you. RCMP monthly activity route. report. Chief Superintendent Chauhan.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, councillors, and staff. I have nothing to add to the report, but I welcome any questions or comments anyone may have.
Councillor Heed.
Yes, Chief, if you can just look at CS 35. I have a few questions here, but I'll certainly try and limit the time here. The analysis of police stats, the arsons, and 10 reported arsons, an increase of 7. And then you make a comment in the last line, approximately half of the incidents are believed to be connected to homeless persons setting fires to keep warm. And, you know, you don't have to reply to this. I think that is very, very important to rest on the minds of council and some of our administrators with respect to that. We've got people trying to stay warm. They're lighting fires. The police are having to respond because over half of the incidents of the 10 reported were homeless people. So I think we need to keep that in mind. Just carrying on, and this is just a comment too, Chief, 75% of the files in November related to drugs or Vancouver International Airport, and I'm assuming most of that's related to the freight in the Canada Post. Is that correct in that assumption?
Through the chair to Councillor Heath, if I may first just quickly touch on the arson comment. I know that in the past, sometimes, let me rephrase that, our scoring of arson files has been a little different. Before, when the police officers attended fires where people were using propane tanks or candles or having fires just to stay warm, those files were being scored as arson. So I know that just the word arson, you think of at a very serious, high-level type of offense. But as of January 4th, our UCR reporting has changed. So you will notice a difference in these numbers moving forward. There will be, if it's a mischief, fire-related, it'll be scored as fire, not arson/mischief, right? So those are the scoring codes that are effective January 4th, and we'll see a little different in this reporting. And for the YVR component, as I have mentioned previously, that FSOC, the Federal Serious Organized Crime Section, they have taken over the responsibility of dealing with exhibits that are seized at the airport. So quite a few of those files, we still have to generate a file, so which ends up creating a stat, and that file gets turned over to FSOC to dispose of those drug exhibits. But out of the 75%, we had a substantial number of those files that were seized by CBSA from inbound and outbound passengers who were arrested for possession of drugs, because a lot of people don't still realize or have the understanding that, this is a airport, a federal jurisdiction, and you can't have drugs or drug paraphernalia with you. And obviously, a number of files were generated by the courier companies, and also a number of files were generated by our members through their proactive work.
Thank you for that explanation. Moving on, and you said 18 apprehensions under the Mental Health Act, and which was a low number. That's good, but a dramatic increase in officer time spent babysitting at the hospital. Are we getting back to the situation we were in several years ago?
To the chair, to Councillor Heath, it's good to see that the apprehension numbers have come down. When I look at the average wait time I know previous reporting was 155 minutes average time. There are certain number of files when we are at the hospital. They may take 30 minutes, but there's just few files that they end up being, and when I say few, it could be 4 to 6 files, which end up being, 3, 4, 5 hours. But overall, we have a really good response at RGH in dealing with their clients. But it's just a few number of incidents files that sort of skew this number.
Thank you. Going on to 38, and you talk about your community police station program, and I'm just bringing this one up in reference to some of the complaints we were getting on the South Arm, where people were, the open-air drug use and complaining to the city. And I know there was some action, I believe, including your officers in response to that. Does the community police station at South Arm get actively involved in these types of files that are more or less nuisance calls?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, first of all, as soon as we became aware of the concerns from our citizens, we implemented measures to make sure that any public safety concerns were addressed. As far as the South Arm Community Police is concerned, it is open 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And public is able to attend there if they need any assistance. However, we refer to South Arm as CPO 5. CPO 5, they do not have the capacity to generate complaints. However, they can direct the individuals to the main office or provide them with the phone number. But the resources and the assistance to the public is available, as it is managed by volunteers and who are able to provide that support and assistance to anyone who attends there.
Thank you. And just moving on quickly to CS40, and it's great to see the impaired driving stats, and that's a real educational piece. The question I have is, are you getting provincial dollars to run roadblocks on overtime?
To the chair, to Councillor Heed, there are certain programs with the BC Highway Patrol and targeting repeat prohibited drivers. There are certain programs where we do have provincial funding to have targeted enforcement, especially those individuals who are on a prohibited driving list. Yes.
Great. If I can just go to your crime stats on CS45, and this relates to the violent crime, and certainly we're aware of the index changes and all that, but the serious crime is what is concerned to me and those, but the common assaults, although under the criminal code they're violent crime, but and I'm going back to my experience in bringing in ComStat to Vancouver, elsewhere, we didn't necessarily put them together in this crime index, the common assaults, simply because they're, as you know, in your great amount of experience, they're more or less frivolous types of calls. So, but I notice you keep it in there. If you were to take out the common assault aspect of it, would your violent crime and what even the common individual out there would understand a violent crime, would those violent crime numbers be as high, or the jump per capita based on the comparisons?
To the chair, to Councillor Heed, if we were to take that common assault category out of there, first of all, we have the lowest violent crime consistently for a number of years that I'm aware of. And I'll have to do a little bit more research as to why this is included in here in this category. But obviously, I think if we remove this, and it will definitely have an impact on our overall violent crime rates and further reduce those in that category.
Yeah, we got to make sure we're comparing apples to apples, but then again, I don't know if that's just a UCR reporting requirement, but I know in Vancouver, we took them out. Anyhow, thank you very much. I do have a question during the manager's report.
Thank you.
Councillor Day?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Great report, as always. There's always so much to learn about. So last night, we had some people come out and encourage the council to go ahead and get some outreach workers for homeless. And one of the questions that they asked me after the meeting was, if someone is homeless and they need to go into care, like they're just so far gone, and they happen to have drugs on them, will they be arrested? Because the concern was that if they're concerned about getting arrested, they won't go into care.
To the chair, to Councillor Day, with the decriminalization legislation that came into effect in January of 2023, an individual can possess 2.5 grams of illicit drugs. And that was the whole purpose. One of the purpose of decriminalization was, it's a harm reduction approach to have these individuals, get the proper support and care, to live a better life. So it depends on the situation, but if it's a 2.5 grams of hard drugs under the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act, they will not be arrested. However, if the amounts are surpassing that amount, and then it'll be the police officer's discretion if that individual is going to be arrested.
That's good to know. It was a tough question. I didn't know how to answer it, so thank you for clearing that up for me. I see that in the previous report that of the overdoses, 11 were outdoors and 12 were in commercial or residential properties in the month of November. And then I also see on your page 36 that in November, the mental health apprehensions were the lowest in 5 years. Is that because of increased services? Or what's your scope on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I would attribute that to our Fox 80 program. That is a great partnership that we have with Vancouver Coastal Health. So our police officer and our nurses are fully engaged with the clients and in having regular contact with them, regular communications. So that has helped bring those numbers down. I think I would probably say that's probably one of the biggest reasons. And then obviously there's other support systems through ACT and other agencies who are there. I think it's an overall collaborative approach that is assisting these individuals, which is seeing a reduction in these apprehensions.
All right, and thank you. That helps to clear that up as well. So we know in the past that being an airport city, there have been times when the RCMP have taken either immigrants or refugees to the Salvation Army shelter in Ironwood. And I've heard concerns from outreach workers that sometimes there isn't enough beds for Richmond homeless, that those beds are filled with people that are from other countries, from all around the world. Do you have any comments on that?
To the chair, to Councillor Day, what I can say, I know especially in the last month, last few weeks, when the temperatures really, and even now, dipped way below sub-zero. We identified the warming shelters that were available, and as to what the number of beds or what services that they provided. and we were able to, through our members, through our outreach efforts, ensure that, that at least we were able to make the individuals aware, and in certain cases, if we needed to have them go to those facilities, that we were able to accomplish that as well. I'm not sure if I completely understand your question, but I think as far as our role is concerned, if there is, any need or support for any individual or refugee, we certainly make the best attempt to ensure that we connect them with the proper resources to help them.
Okay, I'd like to have a follow-up question, Madam Chair. So this is my concern, is that sometimes a third to 50% of the beds are taken up by people from other countries that are immigrants or refugees. This is a federal problem, and there are, for instance, refugees from Ukraine that have been housed in hotels, and that's paid for by the federal government. So where is the disconnect there? Like, how do we access those services from the federal government so that if a refugee or immigrant is in YVR, that they can be transported to a hotel room as opposed to a shelter, because we need them for local residents?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Day, I have not heard too many concerns, or actually any concerns pertaining to refugees arriving at YVR or seeking shelter. That has not been, it's a concern that has not come to my attention.
Yeah, I understand quite a them come from Peace Arch anyhow as well. So, okay, well, I'm going to follow up with our MPs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe staff can answer that question in the report, manager's report, because I understand in Vancouver there's an issue with concern about refugees going into shelters and stuff, and I'm not saying there is or there isn't, but I think we have to get the metrics on it if there is. Great report, Chief. Support everything in the conversation that's gone on. Just a quick thing just for my edifice on page 36. 213 mental health incidences. And I just wondered how many of those are repeat offenders. You don't have to answer tonight, but it'd be interesting to know how many are repeat offenders, even though you had some apprehensions, et cetera. It's the same old story like when I said on ECOM, you get all these frivolous calls and one guy calls 55 times and it's in one person. So I think from a metrics it would clear that up. And I also in the mental health area am concerned because we talked about this last night, and with drugs and everything and homelessness. And I appreciate what we have on Fox 80 CAR, the partnership, but we need a mental health practitioner to work with homelessness as well. We can't do it all in isolation. So we've got to get what I would call the team together, as I see it anyhow, to work on with these folks. As you well know, some of them don't want to go to shelters. Even when they're asked, they'll say they'll never go. I've sat down with people in the cafeteria and say, I'll never go up your desk, or I'll never go over here. I'm staying over there, or I'm staying wherever I am, and it's better and safer, et cetera. So need somebody to work with them, hopefully, to change their mind. So just from that point of view, whether we can get those kinds of metrics, because I think it's important. People look at, oh my gosh, 213, you're doing a great job. And the other thing too, and I don't know, something we need to, which is a whole different area in the mental health, when you're there for 2 hours and 13 minutes per call, that tells us that there is a shortage of qualified personnel to receive those people at the other end. It's not the police problem, not the fire department's problem. Okay, that creates a whole nother issue that we have to lobby for with the Minister of Health to make sure that there's adequate staffing. When I hear, for example, the emergency services in Chetwynd shut down for 48 hours, or Comox or something like that, I don't have much hair left, but I just pull it out to say I feel sorry for you folks up there. So it is something that I think we all have to address in a positive manner. So anyhow, to the men and women, just like the fire rescue, thank you very much for keeping our community safe.
Thank you very much. And if I may just add just quickly to the chair, to Councillor McNulty, we do have a handful of individuals who generate a lot of these calls, sometimes more than 1, 2, or 3 in a day. So, and then we have to really focus, concentrate on our efforts and work with our partners in trying to, either to have them certified or see what type of support that they need. But yes, you're correct. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a question from Councillor Wolf.
Great, thank you. Through the chair to Chief. My question is in regards to the hate crimes and incidents, which is on our page CS 37. So I'm just looking at the kind of trends or overall. This year or last year, reporting up till November shows 25 in combination. A couple questions kind of came up from a delegation that council had last night. I'm not sure if you were able to watch it. It was the last portion of the meeting. And there was a personal example that was shared of something that happened in Richmond where someone had a Russian flag on their car and it was pulled off, and the exchange happened between the two individuals. My first question is, would that level of incident, would that be considered a hate incident? And then my additional questions to that, as this, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, nearly 2 years now, and Richmond has people who were born, about 800 of them born in Ukraine, and they live here now. About 800 born in Russia live here now. Do you have any comments on the exhaustion between the two sides? Does it play out on our streets? Could you comment on those things? Thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I was not online for the last part of yesterday's proceedings, so I missed that, but I did hear about some young chap making some concerns about, Russian flag and being confronted by someone who was Ukrainian or supportive of Ukraine. Not knowing all the details, all the circumstances, so I'll respond sort of in general terms. We live in a democratic society, and everyone has the freedom of expression, freedom of speech. The ongoing conflicts around the world, there's people are on edge, and there's opinions and frustrations and emotions that are exchanged, but that doesn't necessarily equate to a hate incident or a hate crime. It's a very delicate balance. In order for hate crime incident to occur, there's usually one or more offenses that are associated to that. For example, if it's harassment or threats or assault, and if they are as a result of someone's race, religion, or other factors, that can become a hate crime-related incident. But in this case, without knowing all the facts, this may have been an incident of two parties expressing their beliefs, and an interaction took place between them. Did I answer your question, or was there a follow-up?
Yes, the follow-up through the chair was the conflict has been going on for nearly 2 years. So if you or I know you don't have all the facts on that last example, if that didn't meet the threshold of hate incidents, then maybe there's been a lot of other ones that didn't meet that threshold and are not included in the table and typically reported on. So do you know if officers throughout Richmond have noticed conflict of people of Russian and Ukraine having lower level altercations than the hate incident?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I can state that I am not aware of a single incident pertaining to Russian or Ukrainian population or citizens in Richmond being in conflict because of the ongoing war. And here in Richmond, if I may take it a little further, we haven't have any reported incidents with the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor? Thank you. OIC briefing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just, I see there's 2 points are mentioned in the OIC briefing, but they're both the same. And SPICE, actually, SPICE should be Special Police Incident Community Engagement. The purpose of deploying SPICE, which is used, with our community engagement team, victim services, and other support networks, is to reach out to our community members or neighborhoods where they are impacted by, a violent crime, a traumatic event. And in this case, we deployed SPICE to the neighborhood where we had the homicide of father and son. Because communities are impacted, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's questions. So it's important for us to engage with the community and to have that discussion with them on the ground, answer their questions, provide them with victim support services, other programs. So that is the sole purpose of SPICE, and we have deployed them in the past, and we did that with our recent double homicide as well. It was really well received. A large part of the neighborhood community, people who were friends with the young child and the father, they were engaged. IHIT representation was here as well. And then obviously with Richmond Community Engagement Team, our victim services folks, we were able to spend a better part of the day engaging with the community and answering any questions that they had. So I just wanted to update on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions during this, or do you want to wait till till your item? Okay, so we can move on to 6.2 then, license plate recognition cameras? Okay. Councillor Heath?
Well, since he's sitting there, can I just
No,
ask him?
that's the order of it.
Okay,
Anyway,
okay.
so he's finished the briefing, we'll now move on to 6.2.
I was just wondering if there was any update on the Rainbow Crosswalk mischiefs that occurred around Christmas and thereafter.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, are you referring to the incidents? I know that we had a rash of incidents to Rainbow Crosswalks in
the summer.
August.
Yes, it's my mistake, in the summer, yes, at Palmer School, and then we had the one out front of City Hall
Yes.
damaged too.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Heed. So in August of last year, on the heels of the anti-LGBTQ plus protests, anti-SOGI protests, around the same time, a number of our schools, 5 schools, painted crosswalks. So, we were having marches and demonstrations were happening, and around the same time, we had crosswalks. And that resulted in about 7 incidents in the month of August where there was mischief, vandalism, graffiti, burning rubber, the tire marks, vandalism to our crosswalks. The Richmond Community Engagement Team, in particular, the youth section, they were engaged. They have conduct of all of those investigations. All of the investigative steps, procedures were followed. Canvassing for witnesses, neighborhood inquiries, CCTV cameras, intersection footage, relying on our media folks, capturing pictures of some of the suspects using intersection cameras, appealing to the public for tips. Most of these incidents happen in the cover of darkness and early morning hours. So through all the efforts that we have done and taking proactive measures of extra patrols, some covert techniques of devices, and having the school hire their extra security. After August, these incidents stopped. So there was no repeat of these incidents after August 29th. I believe the first one was on August 3rd. Some of the investigations where we have no witnesses and through our forensic services, we could not gather any evidence. Neighborhood inquiries didn't yield anything. A couple of those files are concluded, but some of the files still remain outstanding, and they are with our youth section.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're on 6.1. Councillor Heed.
Yes, I think this would be probably questions to Mr. Corrado. It's referring to the license plate recognition technology that we spent
Thank you.
$208,000 on, and I did make some comments and a little bit of not too happy with that expenditure for one vehicle to be outfitted with that. I did have a conversation with Mr. Corrado with respect to this, so there's a lot more to this than just the one vehicle, and I think it would be worthwhile for the committee to hear his responses.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, the system includes the software backend, which enables all bylaw parking enforcement staff to read license plates using their handheld devices in addition to the vehicle itself. This project also included creating the database in which license plates could be verified to see if they've exceeded the time allotment based on the parking meters, or, for example, if these cars have valid permits. So it enables staff to quickly, swiftly verify whether there's a valid permit. And the other aspect is that it's, while staff do not have access to police databases such as CPIC or Prime to quote-unquote run plates, we do receive a list of vehicles, which is nicknamed the hot list of vehicles of concern. And then our staff is able to verify if, through license plate recognition technology, if a hit has occurred. And in 2023, staff identified 5 such hits and immediately reported that information to the RCMP for follow-up investigation. So it is indeed a broader program than just the technology for an individual vehicle. I would say the majority of the cost is building the back-end system, the IT aspect of it, that enables other devices to be part of this ecology of different license plate recognition capabilities.
So certainly the handheld aspect of it is a very important component. And going forward, if in fact we wanted to outfit more vehicles with the system?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, there certainly would be an economy of scale because the software cost related to this wouldn't have to occur. It would just simply be the cost associated with either retrofitting an existing vehicle or purchasing another vehicle and adding the camera equipment on top of that. And that cost, staff estimate right now to be around $50,000 for an additional license plate recognition retrofit.
And how many vehicles do we have within the bylaw enforcement section?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I can get back to you with a precise number within the fleet. We have one vehicle that's capable with the LPR technology.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Manager's report? No. Do we have a move to adjourn?
Can you answer my question?
Who? Sorry.
You have the answer to that,
Oh, sorry.
not a question. Who's on?
Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, just a question. Following up on Councillor Day. Do we have and do we know if we have any refugees who are in any of our quote homeless domiciles within Richmond, now the Salvation Army over on Hammersmith?
Through the chair to Council McNulty, staff, we are not aware of any, but I will certainly check in with Community Social Services to see.
All right, that answers my question. Because I know Vancouver does have them now, and I hear there's an issue there. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, you had your,
Yep.
can you redo that?
Councillor
Sorry.
Heed can go first, whatever.
No, go ahead,
Okay,
Councillor
good.
Day.
I've heard that there's quite a few, just so you know. So if you could maybe send a memo to us with
Absolutely.
how many non-Richmond homeless people, so refugees or even immigrants from other countries are there. I understand they're coming from the Peace Arch border as well. Anyhow, that's not my question. What I wanted to know is I'd previously spoken to Mr. Cardado about homeless people often don't want to go into care because they're going to lose all their stuff. And those are their worldly possessions. And so I made a suggestion that would it be possible to have like a really big, brand new, like recycling bin or garbage bin that's never been used that we could put all their possessions in as best we could and then store it so that they can go into the hospital, go into extended care, and those possessions will be waiting for them when they get out. And the reason I ask is because I did have someone last night ask me, well, if I get charged, will I go to jail? And then they lose everything. And so I wondered if we couldn't have a simple system in place where we use brand new recycle bins or garbage bins, put it aside, and put the name on, and then when that person comes out of rehab or comes out of the hospital, they don't have to start from scratch.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, actually, that was a topic of discussion today. We have an incident just like that where someone has voluntarily agreed to go into detox. And that was one of their concerns, that the items would be well cared for. That negotiation occurred. Not all of the items could be kept, but those that were of significance to that individual, they were assured that they would be kept. They're actually under the charge of the service provider that is providing shelter within the city. And staff are working with their colleagues in Public Works to identify a more long-term solution.
Perfect, yeah, because I spoke to some ER nurses, and that's what they said. People leave before they should leave because they're so worried that if they don't get back to their camp or to their shelter, they're going to lose everything. And so whatever we can do to provide a storage system, I think we should do. Thank you.
Hang on. Councillor Heed has a question as well.
Yes, I just want to make a comment regarding what Councillor Day said. Absolutely. This is, that's their belongings. That's all they have. And if we've got to show some humility here, humanity here, and provide some storage for them, whether they're arrested under the Mental Health Act or arrested for some other offense that they're committing. Absolutely, that's the least we could do. The other issue, and I was just talking to Councillor Hobbs about this, is in relation to these refugees that are being put in housing that we actually pay for as a city. And I think we've got to look at somehow billing the federal government, and going back to our experience with immigration, if we were detaining immigration people in the Vancouver jail in the city of Vancouver, we'd be reimbursed from the federal government. So I think if we can statistically verify the amount of people that were having to stay in our shelters overnight, I think we should figure out a formula and build the federal government on that. I don't think they would have that much of an issue dealing with it. The last question I have, Mr. Crowder and I did have a discussion about this place, and I see no need for it to be in a closed setting. I'm going to ask you right up front, Mr. Crowder, an open setting, what we're doing with 6100 number 5 Road.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I would have to get back to Councillor Heed with the full details on that specific investigation.
We have to be cognizant of the fact that there's other councillors that are aware of this place it's on ALR and operating allegedly as some type of getaway and advertised out of this particular country. So I think there is some concern here, not only from the ALC, but certainly there should be some concern here from our enforcement within your jurisdiction.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I understand that this is a property of concern and staff are making inquiries regarding this particular property. Staff can provide an update of the outcome of that investigation. What I can say is that there is ongoing coordination with other agencies as we speak. And so we can provide an update when I can get a chance to get further details on the current status of this particular investigation, which is ongoing.
Thank you.
Do we have a move for adjournment? Move adjournment. Thank you. We're adjourned.